Hey guys, and welcome back to Battlefront Updates and another video on Battlefront 2. Today I wanted to talk about Capital Supremacy and my first impressions of it, what I think is good, what I think is bad, some small tips and tricks, as well as how I think they could improve the game mode overall. So I've played it for roughly, I think 6 or 7 hours now in total, so I've got a good idea of how it plays out. Both in terms of balance and similar things. So and obviously this is the biggest addition in terms of new gameplay ever since the launch, because we've got a new maps, and sure, it's still Galactic Assault, but this is something that I think they will build upon with more maps, well, updating the way it works, and there's a lot of potential in it. That's what I see, especially with like the capital ship interiors, which are huge compared to what I think a lot of us thought. It's not just a small part, but it's a massive interiors that they could definitely use for other game modes as well. I feel like the main thing that I wanted with the Capital Supremacy game mode was the freedom of going where I want with the 5 command posts and, well, conquest-like gameplay, and I feel like that's something we did get. I don't think the map is that huge like a battlefield map, and it does not feel like it takes like 5 minutes to go from one end to the other, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if I want or need that though, but that might be the case if they add it to like Naboo or something like that. But I'm still getting that feeling of I can go to whatever command post I want, and at multiple times I've grabbed a speeder bike, ran over to the other side of the map and basically solo captured that point because no one is defending it. And that's probably one of the biggest tips I can give you right away, that if you have 2 or 3 command posts, or well, actually if you have 3 command posts, defend instead of attacking. So many times I see 10 people capping a point, and as soon as they've capped it, they run to the next one, leaving that one, well, up for grabs for just 1 or 2 people. Sometimes the AI sticks around, but the AI is obviously pretty easy to take out. And that's another thing I wanted to bring up. I'm extremely satisfied with the AI. It's like night and day compared to arcade. The AI actually acts like real players, jumps, rolls, and sometimes before you see the name tag or the fact that they're shinies, you might actually think it's a real player. That's happened multiple times to me, and they actually do play the objective, because like I mentioned, a lot of times, both when defending and attacking, they've been the only ones on the point. So I think they've really nailed down something here with the AI, and can probably start using that in well, in other maps obviously, and maybe even other modes. We'll see. Dennis did say that they were not interested, or they couldn't resource-wise put it into arcade, but if they do other experiences, whether it's new game modes or PvE experiences, they've really got something to work on here, which I think is good. As for the map layout overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I like the fact that they have the kind of tunnels under, and that although it's open, it's still a lot of cover, so if you're want to dodge snipers, you can do that. If you're playing the commando droid and want to run around kind of, well, close quarters, you can still do that. So I feel like you can do a bit of everything here if you want to. It's not that vehicle heavy, which might be good, at least for me. I don't like vehicles that much, but the AAT is an example I brought up before, a vehicle that it's strong, but it's also very clunky in a good way, which means that you can counter it. You can run up with an ARC trooper behind it and destroy its weak spot, as compared to an ATST, which I do not like because they don't feel as balanced. So that way I'm very happy, and this phase overall, I don't really have that many complaints. I like the way it works. I like the way you get 50 reinforcements, and if you board the ship, you can then get more reinforcements for the next phase. I guess one of the main things that I feel is missing is a way to actually spawn on the command points, and having a potential map overlay where you can just say, oh, I want to spawn on that command post. And balance-wise, I guess it could be like in Battlefield, where if someone is contesting a point, you could spawn on it, but it would not spawn you right on it. It would be 50 meters away or something like that, so you can't just run straight in there and contest it back, if that makes sense. But I still think it would be nice to be able to spawn on the command posts instead of your teammates, as they are often dead or not available, since it's a pretty hectic game mode. As for the hero and reinforcement count, I think it's good that they've bumped up the reinforcement count so that you can have like 6 infiltrators at once. In terms of heroes, they just actually increased so that there's 4 heroes on each side, as compared to the previous 2. So I have not played more than like half an hour with the 4 heroes. I thought 2 heroes worked out pretty well. I'm not sure if 4 heroes on each side is gonna feel like too much, at least indoors where heroes like Anakin can really dominate. But to be fair, they've confirmed that Anakin will be getting some tweaks in the next patch, so he should not be as powerful as this for too long, basically. But I'm not sure about the hero count. I need to play more to actually judge that. I like that it's prequel only though. I think it adds to the immersion, and I would not have complained either if they had all heroes available, to be honest. But right here I can't say that I'm missing the other heroes too much. And maybe that will be the case when you've played this for a bit too long and you really want to get Phasma or someone in there. But as of right now, I think it feels good. If we then move on to the other phase up at the capital ships, the Dreadnought and the Venator class Star Destroyer. First of all, visually amazing, a lot bigger than I thought. A lot of cool places like the generator rooms, or I don't know the names of all of them, but it just looks really cool, and you can really relate to the many scenes in corridors from capital ships in the Clone Wars series, because numerous episodes they always had fights there with BX commando droids, with Grievous and so on, and being able to see that in the game is really fantastic. And I've seen so many clips of people just shooting with ARC troopers down a corridor. They're not hitting anything, but it looks epic and it feels great, and I think that's the main thing there. Game mode wise, or I mean objective wise, I'm not a huge fan. It's fine, but it feels a little bit too much like Galactic Assault, where the first part is not that much like Galactic Assault, but the second part where you need to create two separate rooms, it's kind of the same thing where one team holds it out with 10 people and all you have to do is try to stomp in there, but usually it just stops. But then as soon as you do get through, you will just steamroll through the room, take over, and then it's almost impossible for the enemy to take it back. It does sometimes fluctuate a bit, but it feels a little bit too much Galactic Assaulty for my taste. It could definitely be improved, either with having more objectives, or having objectives that you shoot to destroy instead of having to run up to them. It's fine, it's not bad, but I think it could have been better in my opinion, and it kind of does get a little bit too spammy sometimes. And spawn wise, I've also noticed that if you for instance only have one objective left, the second time you get a chance to assault the ship, the actual attackers seem to spawn closer to that objective, which means that you can flood in there, cap the objective, and by that time the defenders haven't even reached the point, which means that most of the time there's nothing you can do to stop that unless you really stomp in there fast and deactivate that before it blows up. So I think spawn wise on the capital ships there could be some improvements. The spawning on the ground seems fine, other than the fact that I would like to spawn on command posts, but up there it could probably do with some tweaking. And one of the things that I like the most about this game mode is the way it can turn around. So, like, sure, it can last for a real long time. I think the longest I've had has been 40-50 minutes, but that was a great experience. Maybe they need to cap it out at about 40-50 minutes just to make sure it doesn't last for too long. But the fact that they actually won the ground phase, completely stomped us twice, got up to assault our ship, and we just barely stopped them the second time, and then we won on the ground, surprisingly, and we got a chance to assault their ship, and then we actually succeeded in the first try. It was the kind of comeback that you don't expect, and something that not even Conquest captures, because I feel like once you've secured those command posts, or in Battlefield capture points, or whatever you want to call them, it seems like one team kind of always steamrolls. You can see from the start which team that is going to win, but that hasn't been the case here, or obviously sometimes you can see which team that dominates. But the fact that we could turn around the game, that it felt like we were getting completely stomped by simply winning one of the ground phases, was a really rewarding feeling. And I also like that they've done so that once you get back from failing an assault, the team that lost the last ground phase gets to start with 3 of the capture points, which gives them a little bit of an advantage. A very small but very good detail that I really like. And overall, I'm really happy with this game mode. Sure, it might get a little bit tedious playing on the same map on the ground for, I guess, a month or 2 now, depending on how long it takes for them to add another map. But once they start getting more maps in there, I think it's really gonna be something that will probably overtake Galactic Assault if it hasn't already done that. And I don't have too many complaints on things that I want them to change. It's the spawning and also the spawns up on the ship, and also the whole run up to something and hold down the button to kind of interact thing. I would like to get rid of that if possible, not just for the objectives up in the capital ships, but also when you board a ship. Like, if you just run into an area, why not just drag you into the ship instantly? It feels really weird trying to stand there still for 2 seconds, interacting with that, and then you move 1 centimeter too much to the right, it cancels, and then someone shoots you. So That kind of goes for all game modes, but I know they can't change it for Galactic Assault when they've already built the entire game mode around that. But if they can phase that out of this game mode somehow, I think it would make for a more fluent experience, because that's kind of the good thing about the actual command posts. You don't need to interact with them, you just run up and make sure that you clear out the area. And when you've done that, you can start capturing it. I wouldn't say that I have too many tips, to be completely honest, because it's a pretty straightforward game mode. The one thing I did say previously is that, again, if you have 3 command posts, you're better off defending one of them instead of trying to go for the 4th one. And especially holding ones like the E command post, which is the one in the middle, can be really important, because obviously if you have that one plus 2 others, it makes it easier to defend them. And there's also always a big clash on E, and I feel like if you get E, the middle point of the map, and then just bail on it, it's kind of giving it away for free, to be honest. So it's better if you stay there and try to defend it. And there are of course some good flanking routes on the capital ships that you could use. I don't have any specific examples to teach you, but I think you know if you play that most of the areas have at least 3 paths in there, a bit like in Galactic Assault. And sometimes if one of the doors are completely clogged, you can go to the left and right and try to flank them that way instead, which has given me some really nice kills with like the commando droid, or even if I manage to do it with a hero, although that's a bit trickier considering that you do show up on the radar constantly. But I think that really wraps up my thoughts on this game mode, and the things that I don't like, the things I like, and what they could potentially do to improve it moving forward. And I'm really excited to see how it's gonna work out on other maps eventually, and if they're gonna build new ones, or if they're gonna kind of reuse the current ones we have for Naboo, Kashyyyk, and similarly. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.